The race for president is heating up. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis brought his campaign to the Texas border Monday. He rallied with supporters in Eagle Pass and denounced the Biden administration's immigration policies. DeSantis is just one candidate in a crowded Republican race for president, and many of them are touting their own immigration plans to try to stand out. Our Ryan Chandler breaks down the politics of the border.
The states should be permitted to send people back. That is what you need to do.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis taking on the top priority for Texas Republicans, promising as president he will share authority over the border with state and local authorities.
We are going to fully deputize all state and local governments to be able to enforce immigration law. You will be able to have that authority.
The Republican frontrunner, former President Trump, is making similar promises.
We will use all necessary state, local, federal, and military resources to carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. Have no choice.
Trump is fending off 10 challengers, and the border is giving the race a unique focus on Texas.
Having DeSantis come to Texas to be able to kind of have his first campaign stop or his kind of major border campaign stop to be in Texas, a strategic decision.
If we did a national mandatory E-Verify program.
Nikki Haley flexing her foreign policy experience with calls to bolster funding and manpower behind processing immigrants.
We need to fire the 87,000 IRS agents and instead put 25,000 Border Patrol and ICE agents on the ground and let them do their job.
And South Carolina Senator Tim Scott escalating the issue to a war against cartels.
I will freeze their assets, I will build the wall, and I will allow the world's greatest military to fight these terrorists because that's exactly what they are.
But some of that rhetoric may not resonate with border communities.
This is the hardest part for me as somebody on the border, is the sort of nature of dehumanizing the folks that are trying to cross into the United States is in my mind really dangerous.
Ryan Chandler, State of Texas.
We want to go a little deeper. For Insight, I spoke with Jeremi Suri, who holds the Mac Brown Chair for Leadership and Global Affairs for the History Department at the University of Texas. We spoke about the candidates and the significance of Texas in this presidential campaign.
You know, we're more than 8 months away from the presidential primary in Texas, yet we're already seeing several of the Republican candidates visiting the state. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is, of course, the latest one. So what do you think the significance of Texas is to these GOP candidates in particular?
Well, I think candidates for the Republican nomination are coming to Texas for 3 reasons. First of all, they're raising money in Texas. So they're meeting with people in Texas who are making donations to their campaigns. Second, they're trying to exploit what they see as the most important issue for Republican primary voters, and that's the border. They're trying to show that they're strong on border issues, that they're dealing with what Republicans see as a crisis at the border. They're trying to show that they're tough. And then the third thing is Texas, along with Florida, is one of the 2 most important states for the Republican primary. The person who's strongest in those 2 states has a very good chance of winning the primary and making the case that they could possibly win a national election. So Texas looms large.
The Republican presidential field includes about a dozen candidates at this point. One of them is a Texan. That's former Congressman Will Hurd. Who do you think among this very large group is standing out right now?
So Donald Trump obviously receives the most attention of all the candidates. He's a former president, and he has so much legal trouble that keeps him in the news in so many ways. After Donald Trump, I think Ron DeSantis has obviously generated a lot of interest. His candidacy has gone up and down in its support, but DeSantis hopes that he can make himself the successor to Donald Trump. And then I think candidates like Tim Scott and Nikki Haley both attract a lot of attention because they have some name recognition, but they're also different candidates. Tim Scott running as an African-American Republican, Nikki Haley is a woman, former governor, Indian American. So I think those are the ones who are probably getting the most attention right now. Will Hurd is not even very well known in Texas, so I'm not sure he's the candidate getting the most attention, but he is a compelling person, so perhaps he will generate attention. I think one interesting question is where the governor of Texas is. We know that Governor Abbott has presidential aspirations. Many of the things he's done as governor in the last few years have been with an eye toward the Republican electorate in Texas and outside of Texas. So look for Greg Abbott to become more and more of a presence and someone we're talking about in the context, especially of the Republican primary in Texas.
In addition to the candidates, what are some of the issues that you think are driving this early stage of the campaign?
I think the most important issue of all is which candidate makes the argument that he or she is most loyal to the far right of the Republican Party. The Republican Party is a party filled with many people with many different points of view, but the primaries, particularly in the MAGA Republicans, they're the people who seem to come out most. And so right now, each candidate is trying to show his or her loyalty to that group. I don't think they're the most important group to get elected president, but they are the most important set of voters to win a primary.
How much of a mark can candidates make this early into the campaign season ahead of the primary?
This early really doesn't affect the voting as much as we think. It's still very early. Most people are not paying attention, even the most stalwart primary voters. It affects fundraising right now. What candidates are trying to do is build a war chest. They're trying to build enough money to stay in the race a long time, to pay for advertising, to pay for consultants. Republicans use consultants as much as Democrats do. So it's about fundraising. You need to have some momentum to convince people, both rich and not rich, to give you money. And so that's really what it's about now. It's fundraising.
Right. Jeremi Suri, thank you again so much.
My pleasure.
Already 15 candidates officially declared that they are running for president, and we have a quick way to help you learn more about each of them. Right now on our website, we have a full list of the candidates who declared for the two main parties. We have a short bio for each of them and links to their campaigns. Just look for the link in the State of Texas story in the Texas Politics section of our website.
Every one of these dots on a map is somebody who is struggling, somebody who is only moments away from dying.
Tracking opioid overdoses statewide, how this mapping tool will help find communities at risk and save lives.